Hey guys, Ian Nelson here. I am with Greenberry Mindset. I figured I'd do my video with my shirt off because since this is a muscle, um, a muscle lesson, and so what I'm going to talk about is I've been studying a lot about hypertrophy and how to develop muscle mass. And here's some things that I learned today. In when we have in a muscle. Basically, a muscle is like a long strand of long fibers called sarcomeres, and they run side by side, generally parallel, and they when you break them down and break a sarcomere down into its base component, you have the thick filament that's called myosin, and then you have the thin filaments, and they interact with each other in a motor fashion, like they kind of pull together. And what it does, it pulls the muscle together, right? And when that happens, there's a really cool paper that has a theory out there, a model for how muscle is growing due to this one thing called titin kinase protein. And titin kinase is basically a long, if you have the sarcomere, this is the sarcomere, and you go from end to end, right? And if you were to draw basically a squiggly line around the thick filament, it's a protein that is measuring the tension level in the muscle fiber itself. And what that basically means is that it's how the muscle knows it's being exercised, right? And so what they think on this paper that I read, if you're interested in this, I'm writing a book on it. I'll include a link to this somewhere. And so what the thing is, like, when you're squeezing a weight, right? Squeezing your muscle and lifting a weight, then there's tension that is being put on this titin kinase protein, right? Because most of the weight is being bared from the thick filament, and somehow it's able to interact with the titin kinase protein. And when you are lifting about 70% of your one rep maximum, you're activating cellular mechanisms that increase muscle mass. And their hypothesis is that it's likely due to something called ribosome biosynthesis. And what that is a ribosome is a very small part in your cell that actually produces protein and the building blocks for muscle tissue. So, and why that's the case is that when you have this signal create ribosomes, there's a delay in the initial and people that are initially starting out working out. It takes about 3 weeks before you experience any kind of muscle development. And so when you're squeezing the muscle, it's sending a signal to build ribosomes, and then the ribosomes are producing the muscle. So it takes time, right? And so I thought that was pretty cool. There's a whole lot of literature that I went through, but that's like the main thing that I felt like I got a grasp on. These science papers are really they're tough reads, bro. Anyways, the other thing too is something that I've recently discovered is something called stretch-mediated hypertrophy. And so when you're lifting a weight, it's been determined that if your goal is to build muscle mass, like size, that when you squeeze the muscle or you lift a weight, right, it's good that you start from the fully stretched position. It's called stretch-mediated hypertrophy because when you're in the stretch position, that's putting more tension on this titin kinase protein, right? And that's the mechanism for signaling growth, right? And so like you want to put as much tension on this as possible in a healthy way because you want to maximize the signal. And so by starting from a fully stretched position and then beginning a rep, that's when you're signaling the muscle growth. And a couple things is when you get more signal by going down slow. I mean, if you're contracting and you're just going like really fast, you're cutting out a lot of signal that you could be sending to your body to produce more muscle. So when you contract, squeeze hard and then like go down slow, and that's like getting more and more signal right to that tissue, and then go all the way to the stretch, and then when you get done with your reps, I do like 10 to 15 of 70% of my top one rep max. But when I get done with that, I do like another 10 to 15, just full stretch, and I do baby reps. And there's new literature out there that says that you can get as much hypertrophy or muscle mass increases by doing like partial reps by starting from the fully stretched position than if you just did the full range of motion or just did the top part, because this is the easiest part, right? This is the hardest part. Ideally, the hardest part of the muscle is where you want to spend the most time in. So that's it. I learned some cool shit, and hopefully you learned something. Or maybe not. Maybe you know all this shit. That's great. And I got to show off my body. Super, super cool. Anyways, love you guys. Have a good one. See you later.